I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Good morning. Rainy Wednesday. Is there comment from the public?
Well,
I recognize Lou Cataldo.
Thank you.
How are you, Lou?
Well, I'm hanging in here.
Very good.
I have a kind of a...
Could you just identify yourself as far as who
I'm
you...
Louis Cataldo,
Yes.
supposedly county archivist.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'm here to talk to you about some historical matters.
Yes.
But it's a personal affair.
Mm-hmm.
By virtue of the fact that I've accumulated over 60 years on 2 roomfuls of archives. And I'd like to tell you my dilemma and outline it for you. And hopefully something can be done about this thing, because I worry about the fact that I'm getting along in years, and I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen to the material. I like to document so that you have a little more of a grasp of what's there. I've given you a 7-page item there of what's at stake. There are several things I think that. Well, first of all, I might say that I have a party that's willing to put up some funds to do 1 or 2 things. Put up a 2-room building, or if I had the 2 rooms, I could outfit it, and get the funds for that. In other words, for the funding, wouldn't be asking the county for a dime for any of this. All I'm asking for is space. And I'll tell you why I thought perhaps I'm being a little presumptuous on my part, but this is an accumulation of items of historical and other events over the last 60 years. And the two things I feel that might be of interest, and that's the documentation of the first oral history being done in the United States. Was done right here in the county of Barnstable by, of course, myself. I'm being a little very presumptuous.
Okay, no, that's excellent.
And I can document that by the 1949 when I began this, and it started Tales of Cape Cod, so that's over 60 years ago. And I checked at the Library of Congress to see if anything was being done anyway in the United States, and my reply was the only thing that was being done was provincialisms of speech from one place to the other, but no one had made an effort to get area documentation of the histories of the past. And I have an accumulation of all these things on tape recorders, photographs, and things of that nature. That's number 1. Number 2, we'll talk about pioneering. I know this sounds pretty facetious when I say this, but when I was with the Sheriff's Department, I had pioneered fingerprint scanning. That is to say, the present means today by which all over the United States, and even in England, I was at Scotland Yard, and I was treated royally there when I went there, by virtue of the fact that they were told that I had pioneered fingerprint scanning. That is to say, I presented to the International Conference of Identification the method by which, by electronic means, massive fingerprints could be scanned electronically. And I have documentation for all of this back in, and I think these are kind of things that might be set Barnstable County aside a little bit. This is the dated here in the Cape Times, 1967, fingerprints by computer.
Is that you, Lou?
And this gives you an idea when I was director of the Bureau back then. And these are more front page Christian Science Monitor. Also carried the story. and that was also in 1966.
Nixon was president.
Yes,
his
we can
picture's
see
on the
his
wall.
picture on the
Oh.
background.
I'll be down.
And it looks like
J. Edgar
Hoover was still,
Yeah.
he was still running things. Yeah, he's in the background. See?
I also was recognized by the director of the J. Edgar Hoover by virtue of giving me a private audience. He had a red carpet that goes, his very impressive office.
Oh, I bet.
Some of the local agents were surprised. The FBI agents, geez, why never get to get there? And by virtue of perhaps he became aware of this, and he allowed me to attend the 64th FBI National Academy in Washington, D.C. It was a 16-month course. So I guess they probably want to be able to say, well, he was an FBI graduate. But anyway, just merely mention the fact that these are, I have all the documentation of all of these things, charts and all of that, that I fear that if I'm no longer around, what's going to happen?
Right.
They're going to wind up in the dump. And I thought they probably would be of some significance.
Absolutely.
Along with those two items, I was involved all these years on different historical events, starting back to Civil War Centennial, the Mayflower 2.
The Centennial? Oh, not the Revolution, the Civil War.
Tercentenary.
Okay.
Yeah, the Civil War Centennial.
Okay.
And I have 12 volumes they're valued at $1,000. What I have here is a collection of about $40,000 worth of items, along with documentations and so forth, of all of these things that I've kept. They're in boxes, and they're in albums, and they're in slides, and they're in actual artifacts themselves. And it's 2 roomfuls, filing cabinets, not only of historical affairs, but I'm talking now of law enforcement things that I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Then the oral histories.
Lou, where is this stuff right now, physically? At your house?
My home.
Your house, okay.
How my wife has put up with it, I don't know. 2 rooms.
May I ask another question? So this dates from 1966 forward.
1949.
49 forward.
Yeah.
Where are the archives of Barnstable County prior to that?
Is there an archive?
Are there records held somewhere?
Well, everybody, like the registry has records. We would have records for finance purposes.
Everyone has their own, I suppose.
But we don't have like a historical archive.
I don't know of anybody prior to my doing this other than Donald Tracer, who kept historical records. And I do have one of his filing cabinets. So there's a tremendous amount of material that I've been in fear for years as to what's going to happen to these things.
Okay. So they
might be, for future historians to look at, and these 7 pages give you an idea of what's in there. I'm also going to, wherever they're stored, give them maquettes. You know what a maquette is, a miniature of some of the statues, like the JFK statue. That alone is a bronze statue worth at least $10,000. Only 2 or 3 of them of a kind. And incidentally, we're working on another one now of a different kind. Then, of course, I've got photographs galore. And now we're talking about...
And are they detailed? So the photographs, you have them all sort of like who's who in the pictures and all of that?
Most of them are.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
Then I have a series of items from the Wampanoag Mashpee tribe. I was involved in the restoration of the old Indian church. I've worked with the Mashpee tribe for 50, 60 years, and got to know them all very well. They know me very well. They made me an honorary member of the tribe. And let's see, artifacts, peace pipe. We made peace with the governor of the Commonwealth sergeant there, with Lorenzo Jefferson, the peace pipe. We have all sorts of historical anecdotes.
Lou, I don't recall us fighting Frank Sargent. You know, I thought we were at peace by then.
Well,
I remember he was fighting some developers.
They had, there was a little rhubarb going on, and we just did it as a symbolic thing to bring a peace pipe there with the governor and sat down, and then later they had a banquet and we were invited to that. It was a lot of fun. All these things.
Like having a beer.
It was just an excuse to have a
Lou, do
party.
any of these have, or should they have, some certification of their antiquity or their authenticity?
You have to get like an archivist.
That's what I'm thinking. An archivist.
It'd be great to have an archive.
Do we have a vault in this building anywhere?
Yes, there's a vault over the, so that you'll know, there's a vault at the district court. I have some of our items in there, not many. I've got a couple of boxes that it's loaded with all the county's different things. So there is a vault there, but it's jammed full.
It's
jammed That's the trouble with most of them.
Is there any place where that's temperature controlled to store certain old
Do we have on-site
records?
storage?
On Iron Mountain, the registry uses it. We use it for our medical records from the hospital, which we're still required to keep. So we have a contract with them for some of these things. Do we have temperature controlled storage space here?
No.
May I ask what Iron Mountain is?
Iron Mountain is a commercially offered record storage repository, and is recognized and accepted for storage of archival and also, was it important, or what do you call it, vital records?
But vital permanent records.
Do we have
We have a contract with them.
So we could just rent more space?
Yeah, it costs money.
Yeah. How much? What is it?
Let's give me
They charge you by the cubic foot. Whatever a box you buy is like 3 cubic feet, I think.
and we don't want.
Like for the medical records, I'm paying $150 a month. So it's not a whole lot.
In the page 6, I don't want to say it publicly, but you'll see some things.
And don't say it.
No, he's just pointing it out to us.
Just pointing out that we were involved, the county was involved in 2 major crimes that happened in the Commonwealth, and you'll see it on page 6, a little ways down. Down towards the bottom, and I was involved in all those cases, so that I have those records for what they made. In other words, what I'm saying is I got a law enforcement section, I got a historical section, I got the Indian section, I got all kinds of sections there. Now, I had a donor who was going to put funds towards having a fireproof building of this type. We've talked with a number of different groups for this, but I think the best place would be here in the county of Barnstable, right here in the village, the county seat. I acquired for the town on a lease basis through GSA the Tracer Museum, which I've turned into a Coast Guard Heritage Museum.
Yes, up here.
We have the oldest wooden jail in the country up there.
Right.
I have documentation of all these things. And also the carriage house is there too. I was in hopes of perhaps a building up there, but that's going to be a tough process because I know one local representative doesn't want anything further done over there. But I could talk to the town with the possibility of a building there. But that has to go before so many groups and so forth that it's too time consuming. I think this would be ready to, I'd like to have a place to put these things as soon as possible.
You know, it would be excellent to have an archive room.
I was thinking actually in the public safety building.
Well, this would be a combination
room.
of public safety material, historical material. This is a combination.
Right, but it's county material, so it would be
everything that
great
happens
to
around the
have.
grounds.
Where's the public safety?
Public safety building, the one that we're going to use for open Cape. But they're not using all of it.
Gotcha.
They're not using. I was just
It's
thinking
going to be
it too.
renovated. It's a little timing issue.
Right,
Where's
but
this
if
at?
we could have this stored.
BCI building, public safety, up on the hill.
Yeah, you know, you're pointing like you're in your
Where am I?
office.
Yeah.
So you're
Looking out in the water.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's ideal, and I don't know what your plans are, but that building up there,
Right.
as you come in the front door, there's 2 rooms.
Right.
Those would
Those
be
could be, yes, because they don't want they want a little bit of space on. They want the down below.
They want them downstairs,
And
then they
one
want
little
they want
half
an office.
section.
Right.
Right.
But there's one side that would work as an archive.
That's exactly
To me,
right.
there's 2 issues here. There is the storage, kind of the permanent storage, but there's also the issue of sorting through this stuff, and instead of having, basically storage means you put it in a box and it's going to be stuck in
Right.
a corner. Nobody's going to know it's there.
Here's what I envision. I envision not a storage space. I could have that at the community college. I was offered that.
Right.
That's no good.
No.
You can't see it. What I envision is working with volunteers.
Right.
It's be an attraction for people to come to Barnstable County
Right.
Right.
and go through archives.
students
Where
here
there's
and-
a place where they can sit down and hear oral histories.
Right.
Where there's a place where they can go through the files.
Yeah.
Where there's
Exactly.
a place for the research. If anybody's interested in any one of these things, maybe not today, but 50 years from now, people might be interested in all of these various things that took place.
And also some of it you pick, you have someone who is knowledgeable pick and say, well, let's display that.
Yeah.
We'll
That's right.
You mount it in a frame and
Right.
you mount it on the wall.
And if
that
I had
way.
a place where I didn't have to pay to have this done, we'd have the funds to utilize to take care of whatever has to be done. Whether the room needs to be repaired or anything like that, we could do that.
Okay. Lou, just that you mentioned volunteers. Have you proposed this to the Town of Barnstable Historical Commission? What have they? How have they responded in terms of
I
supporting
would want to
this?
stay as far away from.
It's just
No,
because
I
they're
understand.
within the county.
He thinks it makes more sense at the county. And
No, I'm not asking you to put it at the town. I'm asking.
Right.
You mentioned volunteers. Where are you going to recruit the volunteers to do this?
My Tales of Cape Cod, I have volunteers there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure I could get volunteers. Now, it doesn't mean that the place has to be open every day. It could be on a 2 or 3
Okay,
day
let
basis.
me follow up, if I may. The issue of storing records and archiving has a lot to do with the exposure of records, especially newsprint, to deterioration because the rooms are not maintained in what I would call let's say, an environment that reduces the
Normally
amount of
controlled.
moisture, and the fact that if you put something in your house, for example, and it's part of your house that's not air conditioned, that you
Try to develop something that knows down the Cape of mold.
I've had them there for 60
Okay.
years.
Well, that's in your house, right? Okay, so if you now
No, it's
move,
still there.
you now move from your house to another place.
Yeah.
The,
Well, we'd have to figure out something on temperature control. That's true.
Yeah,
so there has to be an investment in order to
a
do
group
that.
of people who are interested in having a place for the historical documents of the county and preserving them and making them available to the public on ad infinitum. And what you need is the core group of people that are willing to work on it, fundraise for it, whatever it might be, find a location. That's what you really need.
Well, I already have
mean,
somebody who put
because-
up some money.
You do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to get some people who are really interested in the historical preservation of all of this for Barnstable County. I'm thinking of this beautiful little museum in Plymouth, if you've ever seen it, where all the historical documents are from
Going back to government.
Bradford and everybody else.
Excellent.
And it's a beautiful place. And there's a group of people who are involved in it, and they fundraise and they maintain it. And we need something like that.
Is that the one where they
It's
have
on
the
Main
Thanksgiving
Street.
dinner on Main Street down beyond the courthouse? So
Yeah, it's down on the main
Do
street.
they own their
Yeah,
own
it's
building?
down near the old
Yeah.
Memorial Hall.
Oh, yeah.
It's down near there.
They own their own building? They have like their own building?
I think they probably do. I can't remember. I was only there.
Yeah,
I was only in it twice, and one was the day that when Governor Patrick came down and launched the, the 2020, when, the anniversary of the Pilgrims landing in America.
Maybe we should go visit it.
The 400 years, that's what it's called, the 400-year thing, yeah. And talk to the people and figure out how they did that. Because they have everything preserved, and it's absolutely beautiful. And people love to come there because, America's hometown, second one, or who knows, or second, third, I don't know. Yeah, but there's one out in the West, too, that calls themselves America's hometown. But it's the whole idea that people love to come there. And this could be similar to that, where you would like to have that.
It would be nice. And we really need 2 rooms, because I've got a library, one-room library, over several hundred books. I'm talking historical books. I'm talking about books that historians like to do research
exactly.
with. An accumulation of old books and all kinds of records and stuff.
The other like the National Archives building, going through there is just a treat.
Yes, it is.
It really is.
And it's all organized. And it's all maintained.
That's right, and it takes people who know what they're like an archivist, and people who know what they're doing.
The temperature of the records are maintained so that they don't deteriorate.
Okay, it's not an administrative function.
Yes, you may.
I also have JFK. I got almost as much as what they have over here in Hyannis, quite a bit, including the miniature statue, a whole bunch of books, large portraits.
Luke, can I ask you a question?
It's all in here.
Luke, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So those are your property right now, the library and all those records.
So that would...
Have you made suitable...
like a Cataldo room,
legal, or we'll name it the Lou Cataldo Archives. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think commissioners would. But have you made kind of suitable legal arrangements to donate those to the county?
I would do that.
Time?
I'd be willing to do that. I have several attorney friends of mine, retired judges, anybody to draft whatever is necessary to do that, and with the stipulation to be kept in perpetuity or somewhat, so that we got records down below. Who sees them?
Well, most of the stuff we have down there, Lou, we've gone through it because we've gone through all our record retention stuff and all that. Some of it's historical, some of it's permanent,
and
some of the other stuff.
Some of it's pretty dull.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think this is live history.
Most of it's pretty dull.
And everything should have its credit.
Right.
With the notation where it came from, how it got there.
And you can have a rotation. There's so much material that you can have a rotation of exhibits. And filing cabinets for people to research through, listening posts for the oral histories.
No, it could be really.
I'd like to see it while I'm still alive, so that I can have a hand in sorting out things and put them in.
Exactly.
And then later on, whoever comes can do what they want.
Well, see, I think that's the key piece of this, and that's what needs to happen sooner rather than later.
Right.
Because the public safety building, Open Cape, we've kind of committed that they're going to renovate. We partnered
with Open Cape, and if they get this grant, they are going to renovate the building, which will make it a beautiful building, and a building that will be able to, a section of that building, they're not going to use the whole building, but they're going to renovate the whole building, and it will be temperature controlled and all of that. So we could take 2 rooms out of that and make an archive section. But that's going to be several years down the road by the time that's completed. Now, in the meantime, we could put out a request to have some assistance. And where could we store this? Where people could...
Well, see, we don't have like public space right now. What you could do, though, is in the interim, is working with your volunteers. We could probably put up a small amount of money to do. Maybe you need an archive. I don't know what you need, quite frankly. That's why maybe talking to these people who kind of manage this stuff would be helpful, because I really don't know what you need. But we might be able to hire a professional to help you say, this is valuable, this is not valuable, but it's historic. And this is, not really, this can go into the archives. It's not really
the county doesn't.
And you can go, could you not go to schools, universities, and put in a request for students, especially maybe in the summertime, they could come and do internships and assist this?
The main thing
But what
is,
you need is plan.
But you need, exactly.
And you need somebody who put together.
right now, it's the urgency of taking these items and preserving them.
Barnstable doesn't have a
I
historical
think the
society,
first-
does it? The county,
the
not
first-
town. That's it.
The first thing to do to make sure that they're safe in the event of anything that could happen is to get them write it up legally that they would come to Barnstable County in the event of your demise, which we hope will be many years down the road, so we can all see this together.
Not too many years.
Well, at least enough years. And then I think we should call this museum in Plymouth, see if we can go and speak to the people.
Yeah.
What was involved in their doing
All
this,
this together.
What kind of expertise did they use?
and we'll bring you with us
Yeah,
and
I
start
think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
and start there and then and maybe in this Iron Mountain, can you go in and access the
That's
records
just the
that you
name of
have?
the company.
I know it's the
Oh,
company,
yeah.
but the place where they store them, do you have access to go in there and rummage around your stuff?
I know the way we do it for the medical records. That's what I have direct. That's the ones I take care of. No, but it's not a high level cost. Can you get a contract with Iron Mountain that lets you do that? Probably. It's probably more expensive.
Right, but let's
There's an
look into
opening
that.
So you can look into that.
Whenever you go in, there's an opening charge and
Right,
a closing
and a
charge.
closing charge.
There may be. I'm trying to think of where we could put it in the interim. We are looking at kind of the whole jail building out there, the two wings. We're trying to isolate them so we don't have to heat them. And I wouldn't put the stuff in those unheated wings. But the central core,
For the
which
time
is currently
being, I
office
think,
space,
Right.
just for a place to put them.
Yeah.
For the time being, they've withstood now 60 years. Another couple of years is not going to matter.
Right.
Especially
True.
when they're in the filing cabinets,
Let's take a look at that.
How much
boxes.
is it going to cost to ship them from your house to here? That's, I think we need to...
That's a truck.
That's
that's
immaterial. Actually,
Funds
The
that will
first
take
thing-
care of this.
The first thing you need to do is to get the legal documents
That's right.
that allow
That's
you
the
to
first
do that.
piece.
And then, like I said, you need a little planning group to
Right.
Yeah.
decide what has to be done and what gets done first and all. Don't look at me. No. I'm just kidding.
You look like you really know what you're doing here.
Oh, well, I'm happy to work on this.
Don't you?
little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
I have people that I can utilize.
Yeah.
If you leave it to me, I'll organize a group.
Okay.
Yeah.
just keep me.
I'm not asking you folks to do anything.
Just
Get your attorney.
Yeah.
Get the legal part of it taken care of. Get your group. We will look at the
Keep me in the
jail
loop,
for the
yeah.
interim,
There we go.
and then we will take a trip to Plymouth, find out what it was they had to do, and start a
Take you
ball
with us.
rolling.
I've been to Pilgrim Hall several times, so I know what they've got there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, the other thing in Finners, I ought to tell you that I've been talking to the town manager for several years, and it's a long process, but I do have a meeting with him in a couple of weeks, and it's going to be a choice between here and there. Personally, I'd rather have it here.
Yes.
That's my brother's.
Absolutely.
But one of the town councils thinks that there's too much up there in that one spot. But I don't. I think there's room there, but it may be a lot more difficult to do it. And then the lease over there expires in so many years, and then God knows what they'll do after that.
You mean at
What
the
I'm-
Tracer Museum?
Yeah.
You're talking about the Tracer
Yeah.
Museum, yeah.
What I'm concerned about is a place where I know that they'll be there for a good number of years.
And you want to celebrate Barnstable County, don't you?
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
founding of the
Yeah, that-
county.
Which is the Cape in general.
Yeah.
So we
It
want
is the Cape, and that's been my heart for 60 years, Barnstable County. I was with the county for almost 30 years, and I got all kinds of records and stuff that I've accumulated over those years, and I'd like to see them stay here.
I would too. So
I think
that's how we'll start.
It's an asset.
You take care of the legal aspect, get your volunteers mobilized, tell them that there will be something happening. We will look into how much it would cost to ship them. We'll see if we can put them into the jail.
Yeah, we have
To
to
get them-
explore storage options.
And that way, and if there's if we can put a table in the middle and
The
that way.
shipping, leave that to me.
Okay, you can do the shipping. We will look at the jail.
I don't want the county to spend any money on this. All I'm asking is just for the spot.
Right.
And I'm going to talk to my benefactor, and if I know that this is going to happen, I'll see if he'll convert the funds from what he was going to do for a 2-brick building into this.
Well, we will at least get them. We can relieve you of them, so you'll have a little more space in your home. Finally, you won't know what to do with it. And Mark, so we'll look into the jail, see if we can do that. And if there's a space there, then where you can put a table and you can go in there and volunteers can start sorting these things out until we then get to the next step of where they will be permanently.
That's the thought.
Now the other thing while you're here, when you had Lord Speller here.
Oh, Tony Speller.
Yes.
I'm in communications with him.
Yes, and I kept telling him I was going to email him. He gave me his card, and I just found it again, so I will. But and Delegate Bryant from Provincetown is always talking about this, but it is coming up. In another, I think it's now 10 years, is the anniversary of the, the 400 or 300th anniversary of the Mayflower.
That's what I was just saying.
Right.
It's 400.
It's 400 years, so that's going to be in 10 years.
2020.
And it would be, it's not too early to start thinking about reaching out to
How many years is it?
Staple.
20. It'll be in 2020. Plymouth started 2 years ago planning for it.
Tony and I may not be around then.
I know. That's why we got to start putting out the feelers now.
I'm a member of the Pilgrim Memorial group.
So we should start thinking about that.
If I'm still around, I'm sure they would invite me.
Right.
But anyway, that's a thought.
Yes, I think we should have a celebration with Barnstable in England and join with Plymouth. I think it could be a grand.
You have to go through the Honorary Burgess of Barnstable.
Yes.
That's me.
Okay. Well, that's why I'm speaking to you about it.
I was really privileged to get that from Barnstable. And of course, the town of Barnstable, being a little envious, also made me the Honorary Burgess of their Barnstable. We don't have a Burgess. I mean, they never did, is what I'm saying.
So,
well, anyway, these are all these things that have accumulated over the years. And I just fear that if anything happens and I'm not around, what's going to happen?
We want to relieve you of that worry. So, and have you participate in its.
Right. And like I say, there's a lot of things of value in there too.
Absolutely, I think they're fascinating.
When you're looking at this legal transfer of ownership, have your children expressed any interest, or any of your relatives expressed any interest in its material value?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them want the maquettes, but I've chosen several that will be going here.
Okay.
Well, don't forget, we already have 2. They're mounted out there.
You'll have, one time you get through, you'll have 4 or 5.
Okay.
Well, but that's what I think what Bill's kind of suggesting, that we may not need 4 or 5. If you wish to do things, well, we don't want to be in a position, Lou, where you're forced to choose between us and your
it's all
kin.
taken care of. All taken care of.
Okay.
And they're all understanding.
Make sure you.
Everything's all set.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
no problem.
Is that a Barnstable tie you're wearing?
Barnstable, England, yeah.
Oh, Barnstable.
Yeah.
Barnstable.
My good friend Tony Speller brought a book to
Right.
House of Commons.
Okay.
The pin is the town of Barnstable.
Yes, I noticed. I know.
Yeah, I was over there a number of times, as you know. And just for your information, so that you know, that we have, over in the Mayor's Parlor in Barnstable, England, our display. I've retired Sheriff Tulloch's badge, my badge, a whole bunch of various artifacts over the years that came from Barnstable County. And I'm posted time to time about goings on there. I've got a number of people that I'm in contact with weekly. So we do have hands across the sea, and they're very, very much interested in what we do, and of course I'm interested in what they're doing.
Right.
And we've got some excellent relationships there.
And do you have some documents that actually show that relationship? Because I think that would be a great part of it's part and parcel of
a
your
filing cabinet of all of the communications between England and this is all part of it. I think
Right.
if we
It is,
Go
yeah.
through that. It's all in there.
Okay.
Letters from the mayors, even the Christmas cards, everything
Right.
that's going on for all these years.
Right.
Yeah. I hate to see those thrown away, to tell you the truth.
Right. No, I would not want to see that either. So.
It shows the relationships between our two towns. In other words, we got a lot of stuff. We even got my naval, if they're of any interest, I was on an aircraft carrier, the USS Randolph, and I've got shrapnel from where we got hit by the Japanese and so forth. Photographs. I was great for collecting the photographs. So I got Navy, I got Indians, I got just everything.
Great.
Law enforcement.
Well, I hope we can find the perfect home for them so that people can
That's
enjoy
fine,
them.
yeah.
And okay, well, we're happy that you came,
Thank you
and we
very
will
much.
get on this.
And any other ideas you have as to, just let me know.
And once if we decide to travel to Plymouth, we'll contact you
All
and
right.
bring you with us.
Sure.
Yeah, don't forget your hat.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lou.
Bye now.
I mean, there are things here. You know, there's been authors that did work on some of the crimes that he has listed here. They probably would have loved to have had access to that. Okay, we have what else do you have on your? I don't have the.
Next, we don't have any scheduled
Yeah.
agenda items, so next is the needs action stuff.
Right, and I did have a couple of questions on these.
Oh, go ahead, too.
Okay, what is it?
I was wondering where 19 came from. I bet you that came from the sheriff. I
Yes.
have to look up the item in there. That was my other question.
Is that the one that we said we were doing?
Yeah, we said, yeah. But I was wondering where it came from, so I just have to look at that.
You didn't put that in there?
I didn't put it in there. No. No.
Did you
I'm
put
like
it
a
in
mother
there?
hen.
Well, it's close to the end.
It came in. Okay,
I'll
so
look in there.
it was the other one. When we establish a new fund, what does that mean? Establishing a new fund? Is that just
Typically-
reestablishing what is in existence?
No, typically if you get a new grant, because you have to track all the expenditures
Oh,
and
okay.
revenues on a grant separately, we'll set up a new fund in the system. It'll
With
have a
that-
separate fund code.
Just for that money that
And
goes
that's
to
what I
those
thought. Yeah,
things,
exactly.
such as the grant agreement with the. So that's the executive
Right.
grant agreement.
So that way it keeps the monies separate from all our other money.
Okay. And those people know exactly what they have in that account.
Yeah,
So.
and we can track the expenditures,
All
make
right.
sure they're
Are
being
you
spent on what they're supposed to be spent on.
are you pulling 19 or tabling 19 for now? Okay. So
No,
okay.
we were just.
No, I think it's superfluous if you want you don't need a vote to authorize anything. It's been done.
I know.
And signed and everything else. So,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So leave it as is then. Is that what you want? Okay.
So therefore, do we have a vote on the?
I move the summary of actions with the exception of 19.
I guess I don't understand.
Because we've already done it. Is that right?
Well, I think
Could we find out what the language is on that?
it's right here. It did come from the
It
sheriff's
did come from
office.
them.
Yeah.
Okay. So, am I to understand that we do not need a vote on that?
Did you know?
All right, then I'll second your motion, Bill.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
But you now have to send the check.
Yeah, that's as long as you guys authorize me to do that, that's fine. Whatever.
Tomorrow evening, I know this is very late notice, and I thought about it on Monday, and of course I didn't call Kara. They are honoring Mary Lou Pettit
I'm going.
at the
Oh,
Wet
is
Theater.
it tomorrow night?
Tomorrow.
That soon?
Yeah, it's the
I
29th.
gave my check to Elizabeth
Bridgewater.
So I'll be there.
And I
I'll
will be
late
there as well.
Because I have to go to the business roundtable first, but I will be down there.
Is that is that the one at Katuitt?
No,
No.
it's in Wellfleet. Do you know where?
At the Wet Theater.
The what?
Oh, I don't know.
The other
Yeah.
building on the.
Because they're aren't they
Yes,
honoring
right, it's
her
right there.
at the one at the Katuitt
No, that's
as
something
well?
else.
Is that
That's
something
something
else?
else.
Oh, that's Children's Code.
Yes.
Yes, I wanted to go to that. Is that tomorrow
That's
night?
tomorrow evening, and I thought it would be nice if we brought a
5:30.
citation.
Oh, that would
to give her, because she's been a county. Not only has she done things for them, but she's been a county delegate.
I can pull something together.
Yeah, I need some information. Would we be able to get it by?
Who's doing? Yeah, well, we can do it. It's for tomorrow, right?
Evening. Yeah, I
What
can
time?
swing by and get it. It's 5 o'clock, I believe, at the 5 to 7.
Thursday night.
Actually, 5:30 is when they show
It's
up.
5:30, right?
Yeah, but I mean, as far as getting going, there's usually about an hour and a half.
Right.
of,
5 o'clock?
mixing.
5:30.
5:30.
5:30 to
And then
7.
they start to sit down for dinner.
Is it a
And
dinner
they got-
too?
It's an annual meeting. I think it's a dinner, isn't it?
Annual meeting.
I thought it was only a couple of nights. I got it at my.
Because when they used to be the CDC, local CDC, they would have
Oh.
an annual meeting and a dinner, and used to have it.
That's right. Yeah, and they had it at Willie's, and
Orleans.
that's what I meant.
They had it at Willie's the last time, and it was a buffet and food and entertainment. And from what I didn't think to ask Elizabeth Bridgewater when I gave her a check as to whether or not they were paid, but usually there's something to do.
Right.
And given the time.
Okay, I'll get some information, and I'll have Kara type that up, and we will.
It's $25.
You just have to, get that around.
I need to call somebody and let them know I'm coming now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think
Then shall I-
but they'll be happy to see you.
Well, I'm sure that, I'm sure, but I mean, I'd like to know that there might be
And then,
somebody
because
else.
when I did that, saying that when I RSVP'd, then they sent me back a notice that, send your check. So then I saw Elizabeth Bridgewater. By the way, I asked Elizabeth when I saw her that when Glen Pelletier was running the outfit, we used to get a report of their use of the license plate money. And
It's required under the statute.
She hasn't given us one since.
I haven't seen one
So I
recently.
asked her for that.
So we'll remind her tomorrow when we're there. Okay.
We haven't seen one from the chamber either.
Yeah, well, I don't think we've ever seen one from the chamber.
Is that
Remember
maybe-
we asked that question
Maybe
to them who they
first.
report to?
Way back.
Yeah.
But
Is that required by the statute that
It
the
is.
It is, it's public
Cape Cod
funds.
Chamber of
It requires
Commerce is
to
supposed
report
to
annually
report on
to
this?
the county commissioners
Oh,
on the
really?
use of the funds.
Oh, interesting. In other words, some sort of a note from them saying that we got the money.
Annual report. Usually, we used to get
Where they put it to us,
the
yeah.
Lower Cape CDC's annual report, and and in it was some discussion about how it was
See,
used.
wasn't when that they started to share in that license plate money, wasn't John O'Brien an employee of the
Yes.
county, and then he went to the Chamber of Commerce with that money?
That was the whole divorce bill, remember?
Yes, that's what he did.
Yes, I remember that.
That's how he got that, right?
As they say, he rang the doorbell with his elbows.
Oh. Anyway,
How should we
I will get
pursue
that information, and
Yeah, we'll cobble together a couple of bullets if you can give her the specifics, like, we can get some years of service on the assembly, whatever details we need.
right, we'll go back to that, and then we'll.
But just to recognize her long service.
Oh yeah, I mean,
to the community and
to
the county.
the entire community. As a
She
whole.
even came back out of retirement
to fill that spot, and she's
and she recruited a replacement.
she sticks with what's there, which I have to. She continues to be a great advocate for many things. So, and those who don't have that voice, she thinks of it. So, it would be great. I mean, I think it's a great honor, and we could share in that. Was there something else? Go ahead. Maggie, you have some things. Or Mark?
No, go ahead. You have specific
Yep.
things. I only have one more thing when we're done.
Okay. At the last meeting, you asked that I bring back the list of the Lyme's disease task force members.
Yes, thank you.
Their appointments have all lapsed, and actually, I need to discuss with Mark after the meeting our appointment list and master list for committees, because I'm finding there are several lapses. So I have the list, and they're usually 3-year appointments, and they were up over a year ago in June. So it's time and I've also sent an email. I haven't spoken with Bill, so I can work with Bill, who's the staff person that works with the task force, on getting appointments, because I'm not even sure if the attached list, which I can share with you, if how active they are.
Yeah, if they're still interested.
So we need, in general, as I opened this, it was like an onion. I need to address the
I'm sure.
appointment list.
I did speak with Brenda yesterday. She called and I said that we are tentatively reserving that time and date.
Room is reserved.
Okay, everything is
Bill's already
fine.
done that before, so he's aware of what's going on.
Okay.
I left him a message. I've also copied Mark on the email I sent this morning to he and George as requested.
Okay.
And Bill's aware of it, just I can tell by he's one step ahead of me, so he's
Right.
working with Brenda on this.
Good, good. All right.
So I will work on
We will
updating the list
forward
in
on
general.
that, and we'll talk with Brenda and see how she wants
Right.
to see
Usually
this
what
unfold.
the process, which
Cheryl
is,
Bartlett?
the
Is she still
process
on the
which
case?
has kind
Yeah.
of fallen
I
apart
saw her last
is
week.
60 days before termination, the list comes to the, this is how the previous board of commissioners, and you, I guess I'd ask if this is what you want to continue, you review your list of upcoming appointments, because do you have anybody that you know that would, or you, since they're your appointments, that you would like to put on the committees? If so, you may say, yes, I would like, John Doe has approached me about sitting on this blank committee. And then I would add that to the list. Then I go back to the department who works the closest with the committee and say, commissioners are recommending the following or no one. Please go back and, you know, make your recommendations to this, so that there's you get the first bite at the apple on appointments. Then it goes to the department, and then it comes back to you. And in theory, this is a 60-day process that gives us enough time so we don't miss anything. And I am not quite sure why we missed this, but I'm working on that.
Okay.
While we're looking at this, if I may ask a question, we have there has been an establishment of something called the Mass Commission on the Status of Women, and one of the things I had suggested to them through their whatever the webpage is that they might be interested in suggesting women that would be available for appointment to different boards and committees. Because one of the comments that Mary Lieutenant made to me about a recent thing that we looked at, I didn't see any women on there. So I think it might be important for us to reach out to that commission and ask them if they know of, know women that not only this, but just give us an
Any of the things
inventory
that we have.
of people that are both available and have both interest and let's say experience that we could draw on, so we're not always looking at the usual suspects as far as appointments to these boards.
So I will get back to you on that, and then I have two things. One is an executive session HR issue, which I can hold till the end, if that's just very brief. But if you wish to do it and then not come back to open session, I can hold off.
Okay, that'd be fine.
But I did print out the goals that I believe were mutually agreed upon for the executive director of the Cape Cod Commission. I printed them out because the next step is.
I don't think we had a vote that we mutually agreed on the goals. I think
that's what we,
them.
yeah, and I think that's what we
then you
want
need
to
to get to that point today.
Right, so-
I was not given the disc. I just printed out what, Mark, I have an extra if you want one.
Yeah, actually I do, yeah.
I just printed out something from Bill.
That goes to Mark. Or Bill.
He's got-
Oh, he's got
got
one.
one.
Okay, so that's yours, Pat.
So I believe that this is the most
Recent.
correct and most recent. So I guess what, as you suggested, you need to discuss, get consensus, and then if I understand, the next step is you would just have Paul come in and just tell him that you, whatever,
Yeah.
agreed, these are the goals, this is what his performance will be evaluated on over the next 12 months.
I had only on item 3 in this on the professional development opportunities for staff. I would have liked to have seen a stronger statement with regard to the establishment of some sort of internal mentoring, where there'd be some hierarchy of his staff that given responsibility for other staff members to bring them along, because a general statement about professional development doesn't really identify how that will be delivered.
Well, it says it here, how he's going to review the business model, staff survey. I mean, here's how it's going to be. The first, number 3 is the goal, is the strategy, and this is the measure at the end.
It doesn't
I think
say
what we need
mentoring.
from him is the copy of his organizational chart, and that would show the relationships of some employees to others
Right.
in the commission, which I would assume then, and he can then explain that certain people will participate in the in the professional development of employees, unless everybody works directly for him. I don't know.
Well,
No, he has different staff and department heads.
I think it's important for us. It's something in organizations.
Yeah.
In organizations that I think is very important, because if it's left in a general way, it turns out that you don't really have someone that is given responsibility for moving it along and for doing staff development.
So Bill, if I could try, you put on the HR hat and move this along. If I hear what you're saying, you'd like to see another bullet added that expresses the issue to develop mentoring partners within staff. Staff.
And you discussed that with him, and he was agreeable to
that.
But
then he's going to need another measurement.
Right. So let's get to the goal, the objective strategy.
Okay.
So develop a professional
within the area of professional development,
peer-to-peer mentoring program,
peer-to-peer mentoring, as well as what he's going to provide for oversight to make sure that happens.
Okay. So now that will be measured by.
He will say.
Well, this is.
They'll propose it, and we'll see.
Okay. It might be measured by the amount of contact with regard to the subject, and actually the amount of professional development. In terms of interaction, to me, in an organization, if it goes beyond what your department manager, evaluates you on some type of a regular basis, but the mentoring part is sort of moving somebody along so that they get the most out of their employment and also position themselves to be promotable. So
I'll ask Paul to bring it back. An option, what I've seen done is for new hires or for junior members of the staff that I want to reduce it to this level. It's not you have somebody that you go to when looking for direction. So I'll work with Paul.
And that is not necessarily a replacement for the normal line relationships with.
I think we got it.
I got it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and then other than the one executive committee issue from me, that's all I have.
I did actually. I think I mentioned to you. I spoke with Elizabeth Hughes. We're going to meet tomorrow about this. I think this will be a good and simpler method for identifying goals, strategies. We might use a little bit of a different phrase on that, and measures for the departmental budget submissions. And so I think we can utilize at least the formats for that on that. And I'll put something together for you for one of the upcoming meetings. I will be getting out requests on budget numbers because we're getting kind of tight. I'm going to try to do that today, but I'll bring this back in a couple of weeks so that we can go over the format that we'll use for the goals and objectives on the budget. And I think that'll work.
What was interesting about her process on that is that it just wasn't like, let's just sort of brainstorm and we're going to do this. That was really like a series of interviews she had done with Paul. About he knows where he wants to go, and he feels comfortable with that, but to really articulate it and put it in a strategy vision for the entire organization, where are you going to go as an organization, what do you stand for, how are you going to get there, and how's everyone going to take part in that, particularly you and then the others. Was really a series of like drawing that out and bringing that, and it was an exercise he didn't want to, he wasn't seeing the benefit, but he really
it's like the
found
strategic
it very
plan. A lot of times the department managers are like, oh, brother.
Right, but in the way it was done more on one-on-one. It was a very thorough process, and it went beyond just you think this up. It was someone helping you sort of facilitate ideas, like discussing what do you do now, where do you go, and I think we could benefit from that because it is a discussion that could lead, can lead us to another place.
Yeah. And I see that kind of being interactive. So what we do is, as the kind of a normal process, we ask them, and I see these major categories as part of our strategic plan piece, and then within those pieces, each department identifies what their goal is, how they're going to accomplish the goal, and what's their measure.
It's very simple.
And then the interactive part is when we get together in January, we have the back and forth, for lack of a better phrase, an interview with the department manager about how this is going to work and how we can tweak it. So I think it'll work well.
Yeah, I talked to Elizabeth about that yesterday because we were at the sets, and I had a chance to talk to her about it because when I first saw it, my first impression was how easy it is to understand that whole process.
Are we offering her services to other departments?
Rather than the Gantt chart, which I find to be so complex.
Talk to Paul.
Yeah.
You know, I just find it complex.
Right, this is pretty
And I
straightforward.
thought this is so straightforward and so easy to do and understand. So
And some of our departments have pages and pages of a narrative approach to it.
And that
This is much.
she could help them bring it down.
Right, this is much.
She could help them bring that right down. And it would help them. It's like, oh, you know what, this is really simple. You know, we were going here, here, here. And if this doesn't work, you know, that's okay. You know, here's the measure that says, all right, that strategy, bang, what's the next one?
And you, I mean, it's in your mind.
Yeah,
You don't
it's
have to go to a document to see, where am I supposed to be on this?
Right.
On
It's
this
in,
item?
and I'd say
You
for
know
most of
what
the
it is.
departments in their budget, if you go back and look, these are in there.
Right,
They're
but
just
you're right.
drawn out,
Right.
and they're very, you know, it's a lot more wordy maybe than it needs to
But
be.
you can keep it in your head all the time so that you always know where you're going on a daily basis when you have a plan like that.
Yeah, it's very well done.
So the only other thing I have one more thing, and that is to hand out, I gave it to you yesterday,
yeah,
Sheila.
that's good.
This is the presentation that Bob Troy and I are going to do at there's one for Maggie as well. Here's an extra one if you want, Sheila. At the Charter Review Committee meeting today at 3:30. And it's basically a Charter 101.
Okay.
I spoke with Diane Thompson this morning, and she has a couple other pieces that she's going to be, assuming she's there, she's not feeling well, handing out. But they'll have some questions, I think, for Bob about specific things in the Charter. She asked Bob to focus maybe on, you know, how the Charter process works, what needs to be, you know, approved by the voters, what needs to be approved by the legislature. There's some things like that. What needs to be an ordinance within county government, what needs to be done by ordinance. Those types of things. So that's what we'll be embellishing the presentation with as we go this afternoon.
We got a letter from Fred Gector,
Yes.
asking for our availability for, let's see, I guess he wants to talk to each one of us.
Right.
They want to talk to each one of us.
Yeah.
Since you're already there, you should go first.
I'll be happy to, but you know, I don't know how he wants to lay that out. But he does want to be able to talk to, you know, what your impressions are and what works, what doesn't work, and that sort of thing.
This would be a good thing to hear.
Yeah.
Well, let me address that. So that's good. We're going to do that. We're going to work on the book today at the Charter Review Committee. I would suggest that we do this at a full assembly meeting with the commissioners there, so that you guys have the same balance.
Well, this is why I asked you to do it. Was more for them than anybody else,
exactly
because
how we set it up
started doing it,
initially.
and it just happened at the Charter.
Community.
So this can be your dress performance.
That's right.
And
we'll work
dress rehearsal, and then I would talk to Diane and really dedicate a lot of their time.
Yeah, we'll have
That is that, because that way, and if we could get Bob there, they could ask questions. He could clarify things. That would really be very helpful.
I think it as a workshop
for everyone.
Yeah, it would be like a workshop.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact,
but that way we know we get them all.
That way.
Yeah, we've talked about it already. We haven't picked a date,
but identify it as a workshop, and perhaps as we advertise the assembly meeting, that by advertising it as a workshop, that perhaps we would encourage more of the public to actually show up while we're doing it.
I know from several of the new members and those who have been on relatively new, and I think those who have been on there a long time will all benefit, but the new members are anxious for this because they really want to understand the process and how they can be effective in that process, because there's tools there that they can all use, and they're not all, and they're sort of going willy-nilly, which makes it, that's where you set up like, oh, this is the gotcha thing, and it's not. It doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
It can be done in a process.
It would be useful if, before we had the meeting, if they could review the charter.
Yes.
I think
once again. One more time. I don't think you can read that enough, because every time you read it, you really do, come up with another thing. Having said that, what else do you have?
That's it for me.
I did miss one, sorry. The holiday schedule.
The holiday schedule.
So I would just like to review what's proposed, and this, because their recommendation is based on past practices, and it's up to you on the legal holidays to do whatever you see fit. So I would recommend that Wednesday, November 25th, which is the day before Thanksgiving, be a half day. We close